I'm often asked about rights, and a lot of people talk about the things they have rights for. I have a right to do X, and I have a right to do Y. And then what I do is I always ask, it's usually my students, I usually ask them, what do you mean by rights? Because that's a very vague term. And so once we start determining what we actually mean when we say the word right, that could determine whether or not we believe we actually have such a thing, or whether we deny that we have such a thing. And so that's very important. So there's going to be two ways in which we could deal with this. One, we could ask, is our rights that which come from man? Do governments give humans rights? So for example, do I have a right to life because there's a law that the government says that I have a right to life, and that if, say, we ratify the Constitution and change the amendment somehow, or I should say amend the Constitution and amend the Bill of Rights, and we determine that not all humans have the right to life. And in fact, they could say 45-year-old men of a certain class no longer have the right to life. And thus, the government has a legal right to herd them up and euthanize them. Now, most people say, well, that's absolutely absurd because the government doesn't have a right to do that. Now, obviously, if we're talking about legal rights, it is certainly conceivable that the government can make a legal right to do such a thing. But the question then is, do the laws that governments make, are they legitimate in some way, or can they be illegitimized by another law that would say that even though you have a legal right to do something, there is some other right that supersedes that and judges the legal right, and the legal right can stand in judgment, or I should say stand before the judgment seat of this higher law, and that's a law we call natural law. So for example, when we say Rosa Parks had a right to sit in the front of the bus or wherever she desired to sit, even though the law said, the legal right said she did not have such a right to sit in the front of the bus, and it was her legal obligation to move for any white passenger. Now, of course, we'd say, well, that's just not right. So we're using the word right in two different ways. In the one sense, yeah, legally, what she did was illegal according to man's law. But on the other hand, there's another law we call natural law that says that all men are created equal. That is, if you are a human, you have certain rights that cannot be taken away, and that's what the word inalienable means. And so, if Rosa Parks is human, then she too has these rights because she is equal as a human being. And thus the law that says she is being treated unequally would fall prey to the judgment of the superseding right that says that all men are created equal. So, since all men are created equal and she's being treated unequally, we would say that that is a bad law. So we use the higher law to judge the man-made law. But what do we say if there is no higher law? And this is a debate that's going on. When people say there is no God, therefore there is no God that endowed man with certain unalienable rights, and if man was endowed with certain unalienable rights, then if man has rights, they come from the government. Now, if that is true, then Rosa Parks did not have a right, a legal right. But she also didn't have any higher right if there is no God that would endow mankind with rights. But if Rosa Parks did have a right with which she is endowed, then there is an endower. And if there is an endower, there is a judge that can sit on top of the man-made laws and judge them accordingly as to whether or not they conform to the natural law that has been given by him.